on religion dystopia. So I'm going to try to make a video here. I don't know how long it's going to be. But, man, there's a lot more entities than I ever even realized. Good Lord. Good Lord indeed. I missed a whole bunch of those. Anyways, so Monday I talked to a guy named Tim Renner from Strange Familiars. It's like a YouTube channel. He's like an artist and a musician, and gets to write some books, and he's into all this paranormal stuff and all that kind of stuff, Bigfoot. So he interviewed me. I don't know if he'll ever really post or not. I don't know. But I made sure to record it on my end. Not to overstep my bounds. Fact of the matter is, he has thousands of subs, and after what they did to me in the 6th of January and removing my thousands of subs and gaslighting me and blackballing me and everything else that they do to you, it's like amazing. Plus the fact that, what I talk about, most people aren't interested or get real pissed off. So it's amazing how people do not want to know the truth about much of anything. Honestly. But anyway, so there's two topics to talk about. Is what the Bible actually really says. That pisses off about 90%, 99% of people that call themselves Christians. And then when I start talking about my experience of what Bigfoot and Sasquatch is and all that stuff, and that it's just part of the spiritual realm, then that pisses them off. So there's just no win-win when it comes to telling the truth. So if you're going to go down that road and actually impart the truth, you might as well understand that people aren't going to like you, follow you, or accept you. They'd rather be entertained, have their minds trapped. Because, the sacred texts of the past and of those who have wisdom has said before, we love the lie more than the truth. So anyways, before like an hour before the interview, I took a little more than half a dozen pictures out of my kitchen window of my neighbor's yard and tree. And particularly, not the tree itself, but if it was behind the trees, most fascinating. Although that same tree you're looking at right now is when a Bigfoot had manifested. Of course, you look at that tree, there's little things going on in that tree if you have the eyes to see. I'm going to show you a couple of images. There's a lot more still going on. But I'd help people understand at least where I'm coming from, where Native Americans came from, where the vast majority of civilization throughout the world came from, until the truth was corrupted by the West and their new religion offered up to us via, of all things, Vatican and the monarchs of Eurasia. Make sure that the public never knew what they were worshiping and what the world's really all about. And that is the spiritual realm. Now, most people, they just cannot stomach it or want to accept the fact that quote-unquote Bigfoot, Dogman, all the other quote-unquote cryptids are nothing more than part of the spirit realm. Actually, many of them are actually the same entity. As the Bible explains in Ezekiel and also in the Book of Revelation and other texts, these things have the capacity of changing and morphing, as we call shape-shifting. Appearing as an eagle, as an oxen, as a lion, as a man, and of course in North America, I think it's pretty clear that there's sections. The Bible talks about this as well. Spiritual domains where certain entities have a rule over that section of land, water, air. There's different entities, different sizes, and different authorities and different strengths, and we learned about that through Solomon Seal and other, the grimoires and all sorts of, some people might call them wizards, warlocks, occultists. John Dee is one that comes to mind. Many of them understood the spiritual realm. All shamans understood it, all spiritual leaders, and all cultures, societies understood it. But in this past century or so, with the quote-unquote age of reason, which seems to be one more of those fine examples of Orwellian newspeak and doublespeak and everything else, is to make sure that people ignore what is right in front of their face, stay blinded and trapped in their egos and in the sorcery of those that they have propped up as their priests and elders, the Pharisees, scribes, and etc. Yet, for centuries, if not since the beginning of time, mankind has understood that he has dealt with and has lived parallel with the spiritual realm. Can't talk about that stuff, though. You can talk about aliens, you can talk about anything else, but just don't talk about that. And isn't it funny that when we talk about spirits, ghosts, demons, devils, angels, stars, they all have similar characteristics and all seem to be part of the spiritual realm. Maybe some of them, the vast majority of them, are part of the Nephilim. But regardless of what it is, or where they came from, there is what they are, what they've always been, and what they always will be. Now, my experience with them, when I've seen them manifesting out of the ground, manifesting out of the trees, manifesting out of the air. Now, some people call these things elemental spirits. One thing is they're spirits, and somehow they have the ability to manipulate the elements in order to create shapes, and most of the time it's just heads, which brings new meaning to this whole thing about disembodied spirits. I think really when we hear about in the Bible about disembodied spirits, we're talking about spirits that no longer have the temporal, mortal avatar body that you and I are walking in. Saying that, a lot of these things, they seem only to be able to manifest first and foremost their heads. It seems also that the camera, as has been mentioned numerous times in the past, but we don't look into it too heavily, that the camera was not first designed to have you take your family portrait, but for the occultists, the ruling elite, if they like to be called, the real rulers of evil in this world. It was their opportunity, their way of capturing these spirits that they were seeing. And their scrying mirrors and their black mirrors and the smoke and their rituals. How do they capture these things? Ironically, the same thing happens today with the camera. In fact, once one understands how to use the camera, they become quite clear. And you know what time and where to look. Now, I live in a town that's called Tree City, Sylvania, which means trees, land of trees, city. And there's an awful lot of trees. So there's some water. There's an awful lot of spirits. Are there evil? Of all evil, I pray to God always that He would loosen His mighty angels to protect not only me, my son, but my neighborhood, my neighbors, my town, this region, in fact, the whole world. So my hope is that not every single one of them is an evil entity. Saying that, there's certainly, I've had my fair share of dread and fear dealing with these things. And, it's not much fun when you realize that you're being watched. It's bad enough to know the Big Brother's doing it with all the gadgetry and the paperwork and the internet and the World Wide Web, but then also realize even more powerfully these things are doing it. It makes you wonder what really inspired men in the first place to play Big Brother, to play rulers of evil over us. So what I'm going to share with you, this image I took an hour before the interview started. I took a couple of pictures, this one in particular, of out my kitchen, the back window. What you're going to see is some entities, some spirit form manifesting because of how the lighting is, how much humidity is in the air. The trees are finally leafed out, and when there's leaves in the trees, these things have the ability. Some people say to cloak. I don't think it's cloaking. I just think that they can use the life force of the trees. In fact, they live in the damn trees to manifest, and usually it's just heads. Once in a while in the night, you'll see them, or their bodies. Once you're actually, once you're more observant about what's going on, you'll actually see them more times at night than you were during the day. But the thing is, most people see them during the day because they're not looking for them. So when they run across these things, it's a certain part of the day, or when certain conditions are right in the atmosphere, water conditions and all that. Now, I sound like somebody knows what he's talking about, and I think I do. I hear over and over again people say there's no right answer when it comes to Bigfoot and dogmen and all that. And I find that to be a very disingenuous and dishonest statement. I don't think it is maybe meant to be that way, but there is always one right answer and a whole lot of wrong answers that lead us to the right answer, as in a process of elimination. As in a process of elimination, at least for me, using the basic principles of the scientific method, in which you don't need to do all the things that Western civilization and this new world order of scientism has to say. The question first to be asked, is there even the possibility that all these cultures were more connected with the creation that we live in back 100 years ago than we are today? And the odds are, and you will discover, absolutely was the case. Ever since the advent of the television, what Anton LaVey called Satan's Satan's altar. Hell, he wouldn't even let his own children watch television. That's how poisonous he knew it was. Or the internet, the mainstream MSM, mainstream media, and most of everything else in which you mix money, popularity with the truth. Something has to give. As God said, man and God don't mix. Either you will be the lover of this world or the lover of God. But you can't be both, and you can't straddle the fence. And most people think when you love God, then you have to go be religion, which basically you just run right back into the world. So anyways, you can, in this picture, I will show you some many images that I found of spirits and some that I noticed that I missed. That I missed indeed. So you can see the light penetrating in the west of the sun. There's one right there. You see that one right there? See if the white face, there's the black eyes, the nose, the shit-eating grin right there. Oh, there's something wrong with Mike. And then here you can see a couple of these spirits. You can see with that, it's starting to form using the water, just like they use the chemtrails or the same thing. And you tell people this, and they think you're batshit crazy. The problem is, until you go out and do it yourself, that's all you've done. Contempt prior to investigation. Once you do go and investigate a little bit, you always say, I'll be damned. It's not just pareidolia. There really are things manifesting in the clouds. It's like they use the water. They manipulate the water droplets that make up the clouds, or the chemtrails, or the geoengineering, in order to have a face show up. Kind of like when in the past and rituals and all that, using smoke and mirrors, literally. Now we use that term today to mean something that's deceitful, but back then they used smoke and mirrors to have what? Entities pop up, along with rites and rituals and blood sacrifices. Also, let's remind each other the blood sacrifice that's been going on worldwide for the past 2 years, which is going to mean that these things are going to manifest more prominently, which you'll figure out if you desire to look deep enough, that the priestcraft of our day, whether the priests of Mithraism and the Vatican, the diviners of the serpent, to the brotherhood of the quote-unquote Jewish mystics, and the Kabbalah and Freemasonry, Freemasons, all the different forms of witchcraft and sorcery. Of course, they want everyone to think that that's all Wicca, right? I'll be damned if there's one right there. Didn't see that one. I missed that one. But you see it blurry and starting to manifest. I will show you other images. There's one right there manifesting, going through trees. You start to see the eyes pop out. Then it comes the nose and all that kind of stuff. A lot of these damn things look like Bigfoot. Or, they have the big eyes and all the other things that's going on. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's not the most pleasant. There's one right here. There's a big one right here. See the dark reset eyes? There's actually a little one in front of them and on the other side. But there's the big one in the middle with this cone head. White, the shit-eating grin with the black beard. There's another dude right here that looks more human-like. You're just seeing things, Mike. It's pareidolia. Yes, that's what I'm doing. You sure? Actually, in the middle here, there's one right here. With one in front of it, which I will demonstrate to you. We'll see back to that one right here. This one actually has... There's two in front of them, but you can't see. There's one right there, too, as I didn't go after as far as singling out. I will show some images where I altered it with contrast and hue and lighting and all that kind of stuff. There's one right here. You can see with the more pinkish. There's all over the place when you start looking. Point in all this is I want you to know that they're real. The spiritual realm is real. The Lord of all spirits is real. I know you don't want to hear that. You've been poisoned by all the lies coming out of the state religion of Catholicism and all its daughter churches, which includes all those that call themselves Protestants and etc. Evangelicals, high priests, whose sole purpose, whether they realize it or not, is to keep you ensnared, to keep you from having a personal relationship like Abraham did, as God took him out of Ur, and he wants to take you out of Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon is everywhere. That leads you further and further away from God, the creator of all this, the Lord of all spirits, and this creation. And the primary purpose of television is to do just that. So we're going to go here. So let's do this. We'll start here. This is the hodgepodge, the collection, of some of the images or some of the entities that I found. We'll go into in more detail. On my left, I'm assuming it'll be your left too, there'll be this entity. And it has one right here and one right here. There'll be this one, which is not the greatest of ones. I don't know why I picked that one. There's this one, which we saw earlier, all the misty faces. We'll see that this one here, there's a group of them. And one thing right here, this guy, he looks just like one of the hooded goblin type Bigfoot things. So let's get into it. So I was wondering, why do they manifest the way they did? Of course, I've been focusing on it the last couple of weeks. So why am I getting back into it? We look at the whole totality of everything that I've been researching and trying to warn people about. That there's definitely is a strong connection with the spiritual realm and the bullshit that's going on today. The evil stuff. I find it fascinating that it's like the more I talk about this stuff, if you think I'm doing this for ratings, numbers, I lose more people. I'm still stuck at 130 subs over into YouTube. Over BitChute, I've been stuck there to over 1,285 subs. Not that it means anything, because only at best a tenth of them are paying attention at any given time watching any video. So it doesn't really mean that much. It's all an illusion. But one thing is also I notice is that with all these platforms, which by the way are managed, controlled by government think tanks, agencies, alphabet agencies. They call it the World Wide Web for a reason. That's to capture us. We're in a dilemma where we're going to have some of us be willing to sacrifice. This is a fine example up here of this climbing up, but I don't know if we'll get to it, of the totem. You'll see the heads climbing up this branch right here. People think the totem pole is something simply just about spirits of wolves and coyotes. But that was a very clever thing for the Native Americans to convince people that of that. After all, if they were told the truth, any more of the truth, big eyes there, what would happen? What are the rules of evil? The self-righteous Pharisees of our day, the popes and archbishops and pastors and priests, along with their armies and their banksters, would just wipe them out even more. And so they had to play along with the game. It's about wolves. It's about coyotes. Yeah, it's about wolves and coyotes. You're not allowed to speak the truth. Fortunately for me, but unfortunately, at the same token, it's a double-edged sword. So I have abiding faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I cannot lie. Even if it means to sacrifice my own body, which would not be the first one to have to do this. So, as my Lord and Savior says, if you love this world more than the truth, or Him, which is the way and the truth and the life, then your reward will be here on this earth. My reward, I hope, it is not of this earth. My hope, my prayer, Lord God Almighty, the great I am, the Alpha, the Omega, the great Amen. You have a place for me in your kingdom, in the spiritual realm above. I do believe the bit of heaven's inside of me. We call that the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God kind of makes it hard to do the shitty things like, use people. So anyway, so this first one here, you can see it's unaltered, unadulterated. There's the head, the cone. There's the two dark eyes, recess, the nose, the mouth, the dark beard. He's got a person there and somebody's there. In the middle there, in the middle of the tree there, once again, we have this entity here, the gray face. And there's actually an entity in front of it. Something to call that the dog. The dog. Isn't it interesting? The dog man and the Bigfoot and all that. You hear all the. Actually, there's another one behind them. Always are together, aren't they? Those that really pay attention. Not the stories. Not the stories. This one's not altered yet. There's no. But there actually is this dude. There's a dude right here. And there's a dude in front of him. You say, I can't see it. Well, you got to just have some patience. Why I'm bothering to do this? I don't know why. I guess it's because I care. And I don't want you guys to be deceived and lied to. And there's a lot of lying going on. So in this image here, yeah, so we go back here. This is this dude right here. He's got a bit of a round head, the two dark eyes, the funky nose, face distorted, and it's not the leaves. You can start to see how the spirits are manifesting going through the trees. Just this guy right here. This is the one that kind of looks mannish with the hair. There's the ears. There's a monkey dude with one on both sides. Little guys. Here's that spirit I was talking to you about. Manifesting through the humidity of the mist. With the right angle of sunlight going through the leaves, you can see these things manifesting. This one right here, you can see it's got the eye right here, the eye right here. There's that punched in nose. Got the weird ears. There's another one right here too. It's not just pareidolia. You can see that there's a separation between them and the trees and the leaves. And there was more of them there. There's that one again. Let's see if we get there. There's that one dude that kind of looks like there's the eyes. There's the brows. The headline and all that. Pareidolia, pareidolia. There's another example of the spirits manifesting, the two eyes, the kind of weird nose, the mouth, this ghoulish goblin looking thing. They come in different shapes and sizes. This one was an interesting one. Let's see if we can get to some of these. Let's see if we can get to the ones where we start changing texture and color so we can help it bring it up for you. So this is that one. You can see that guy again. There's the Gene Simmons looking. You ever notice a Kiss? They all wear white makeup with black eyes around them, and the knights and Satan's service, or they look like demons, and they don't even hide it. They look like demons and try to look like demons. It's an entity right here. I don't know if we can get to it. There's actually one on this side as well. And there's other ones here. Understand, this is not... A lot of people are not going to be happy with it because, you know, it's got to be flesh and blood to be a monkey and running around and a guy like somebody who's in an ape suit. But that's not how the spirit realm works. And the spirit realm is really good at fooling you and I. Here's another one of these. This one is very interesting. In particular, it's got this dude right here. This is maybe your traditional booger looking dude. Cone head. The eyes, the nose, floppy hooded nose, some people call it. The mouth, the teeth, the beard, the crown. There's also one right here. And that one's very interesting. It almost looks like a hag. or a witch or something like that. There's another one right here that's very interesting. And there's another one, so I don't know if you can see this one. This is, remember, it's manifesting. You say, that's not a Bigfoot, that's pareidolia. Well, first of all, for all you to say it's pareidolia, you don't even know what you're talking about. You've been barfing and regurgitating things like Brian's little faithful stooges on SpongeBob SquarePants. Let's be honest, you don't know anything what you're talking about. By the way, this dude right here also has a buddy right here popping out too. See, these things mass and boil. Why? Ethereal spirits means that's what they do. They uncover all the ether of the air in many different forms. And they also are the creatures of the night and darkness. God created the realm and divided it. The night, the darkness, the day, the light. We are the creatures of the light. We can't operate in the darkness. And these things don't fully operate until the darkness. Hence, that's the reason why you never see quote-unquote tree structures or other handiwork until it's really dark. You might see them. You might see them in the edges. You might see them temporarily. And most people actually have sightings during the day. But the only reason why people have more sightings during the day than night is because at night we're sleeping. And the average person isn't running around in the woods in the middle of the night. In fact, that ain't anybody running around in the woods these days that I know of in the middle of the night. There might be a few folks, but the average person will never spend an hour of their lives in pitch darkness in the middle of the woods ever in their life. Do you realize that? And hence the reason why you never see the activities and what they're doing is because you're not there when they're most active or when they manifest and they break free from the realm, the sleep, the prison that they're in. Just like us at night, and what do? We fall asleep. We hibernate, we become inanimate. We don't move around. We don't do anything unless it's a get to take pee or something wakes us up. We aren't going to do much during the middle of the night. We're going to sleep. Now, some of us are night owls. Well, that's because we just don't have a life. So, anyways, as they would say. There's another example of this thing manifesting. You see the eyes and all that. Now, it's important for you to understand this stuff. Why? So that you can start looking and understanding what's really going on. So when you see these dudes running around with their monkey suits, some 7-foot tall dude in a monkey suit gives him another 4 or 6 inches to his body. He seems like a damn giant. Proper angles to keep it short, keep it sweet. You never know. This is a fantasy. Remember, just another example of an image of Patty. And remember, those few of you that are still around, but a couple years ago, those who were around paying attention to me, I demonstrated emphatically that Patty wasn't alone and that there was something very dark happening in those shadows. Those deep shadows in the trees had a lot of entities. Now here, David Height, Bigfoot Photo Archives, resurrected one of these photos of someone else did. And you will see the different entities, spirits, they'll call, and the idiots and the fools, and they usually are that. Usually there's some white dude who's from 15 to 45, who thinks he's really smart because he went to public school system, maybe got himself a high school degree or a college degree, or maybe even a university degree, in which he became even more of a blockhead. And they never realize what they've done to themselves until it's too late. They never given an opportunity to challenge any of the official narratives what they do, or what they are given as an opportunity to do, is to make fun of all those people that do that. And that's what they want to do, is to discourage people from challenging the official narrative. Notice these things are manifesting at the edge of the woods, where the darkness and the light meet. Now, you show this one entity right here, and you say, hey, it looks like a ghoul. But man, there's a big dude with his eye popping out and everything, big giant head. And if you look really closely, and once your eyes adjust and you can accept the fact of the freak show that's out there, that comes in many shapes and sizes, and there's as many spirits are there. In fact, there's probably 1,000,000 times more spirits in the spirit realm than there is on this plane of existence in the flesh. So, did I do a good job? Probably not. So I just want to say, this one, if you just pay attention real here, I mean, I'm not going to go and try to bring these things out and bring these. I took this an hour before the interview. I shared. This morning I looked at the images and holy crud! I think it was or maybe it was yesterday, last night. I don't know. And anyways, I sent it to Tim, and if he sees it, he sees it. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. You can see the other ones here. I mean, all I can do is share the truth of what I see and what I witness. And people just have a hard time accepting a whole. Yes, the problem is because we've been brainwashed and indoctrinated, or spiritually, or some say it's the too much fluoride in the water, right? Chlorine, damaging of the third eye. I don't think so. I think that's part of it. And I definitely think you shouldn't be drinking stuff with fluoride in it. And no one is insane would say otherwise. What I'm saying, though, is what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying is that the spiritual realm has always been around, and it's always been part of humans' history and interaction with God's creation. And systematically, wherever the West went, ahead of them were pastors, priests, all right, Jesuit priests and Franciscan priests, and the first thing to do is to go after all the shaman and the spiritual leaders, all those that held the traditions and the history of these people, of all people, and destroy them, eliminate them, erase the memory of man in God's creation and man's interaction with God's creation. Unfortunately, they've done a damn good job, and they've used the most useful of tools, which is us. They're a byproduct of their educational system, their schooling system, and there's been people all along trying to tell us what's really going on, but every time someone does, they get gaslighted, blackballed, shadow banned, and shoved to the side. And if they feel the powers to be feel that the line has been crossed too far, then if they need to, they'll pick you up physically. Now, if you have a connection with God, you're not really worried about it any more than John or Peter, Paul, the disciples and apostles of Jesus. I think Jesus himself, of course, he was God in a human meat suit, paid for the sins of mankind, for those that have abiding faith in him. And those that don't worry about it. This is your best bet. This is your best opportunity. If you have abiding faith with God, the spiritual realm in the next life will be completely revealed to you. If you have no desire to be with God, guess what? It's like a fire, which will perish, which is fascinating once again. I get no likes. I get no thumbs up. I get no new subs. But I keep saying the truth. because I know I'm speaking the truth, and it's not about some little beehive or some collective. It's about that me. It's about God first, and then me, and that person that I'm supposed to reach out to. And it's not a bunch of you. It could be just one person in Australia, another person in Asia, another person in the Middle East, another person in Great Britain, another person in Germany, maybe some in Ukraine, or in Russia, for that matter. Maybe be a Native American somewhere, some indigenous tribe somewhere in Canada. Wherever it may be, there's an individual that needs to be reassured that what they realize and what they understand is the truth, and to follow that. The truth is the Lord of all spirits. It is God. There are many of us that feel like we're misfits and don't belong in this world. In truth, we do belong in this world. But because of the rulers of evil and the liars and deceivers and the controllers and the manipulators always want to keep control over all of us, they don't want you and I to know at all what's really on. You just shut up and be a good little... You be the good monkey. You are the monkey. You don't even realize it. You be a good slave. You be a good servant. And we'll reward you with little tokens and this, that, and the other. Maybe you'll get a fancy gun. You can go out in the woods and try to shoot a bunch of spirits and ghosts. Yeah, that'll work for a while. Now, this one is a good example of it. As far as the spirits, starting. So this is this dude right here, the one that looks like he could have been some band member of Kiss. In front of him is this dude. You can see the one eye right there. There's the eyeball and the iris. It is squinting, and it's almost like an ear right there, and the cone head. Actually, when you really pay attention, there's actually another one right there in front of him, and there's another one behind him. Because that's what they do. And what do? How do they hide in plain sight? In the spirit realm, is by amassing and through the use of irregular shapes of the leaves and the branches, the clouds, the natural shapes of this world, which are not straight edges, which are not triangles and rectangles and squares and spheres or circles. Nope. They take advantage of all the leaves. People say, oh, they're cloaking. No, they're not cloaking. Here's another big example of that. Once again, you can see the eye right there of this one entity. There would be with that. The skin part is what people talk about, the grayish part. And then there's the cone head of that. And then they got this dude. You know, and this one, if you pay real attention to it, in its mouth and all that. And it's eating grin smile right there. There's a branch running in front of it. There's his nose and his eyes. But it's all pareidolia, and if you're an idiot, that's what you're going to keep on saying. No, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, you are an idiot. If you keep pushing that, you're an idiot. You need to educate yourself on what pareidolia is instead of barfing out the same old crap. Oh no! Yeah. Same old crap that the government and its alphabet agencies have been trying to tell us forever as they educate us with such things as conspiracy theorists. Oh, yeah, it's conspiracy theorists. Until you do some real homework on history and what there really is going on, and you realize this world of man is nothing but conspiracies. There's no theory about any of it. There's no theory about the fact that Americans were betrayed by, quote unquote, our government, which never was. It's their government, and its words are the government, break down to the governing of the mind, and the whole idea, the whole purpose to govern your mind, keep you from thinking, just as I've told you a million times, as Casey said, the ex-CIA director, I know we've done our job when everything Americans believe in is a lie. And they pretty much have done that. Now, there's a few of us in the truther community who broke free from the truther community in our pursuit of the truth. We found such things as that God is real. Not the God that you guys talk about, with half-truths, but the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Jesus that actually fulfilled all things. They didn't lie to us. But you and I will lie to each other. Especially for a buck, and especially if it means your buddies will think something of you. Like, oh man, he's an amazing dude. He's one of us. Now this one, this in the middle of that tree. There's an entity. Actually, there's two entities. And there's this one here. And you'll see the shoulder that everyone talks about. And how the neck, the shoulder, there's no, like what the humans have. There's like it just goes all the way up. You can see there's actually the eye here. There's something right there. And there's another behind him. That's a better example of it. Remember, this is filmed from distance, so I can't get the most accurate of stuff. And it's a spirit, so they don't sit around for you to do family portraits. But there's the eye right there. There's the eyebrow. There's that cone head type thing, a conical head. And it goes, it's like that. Ironically, there's another guy right here, and if you look real closely, there's two eyes here. And this is one of those ones that we have that has kind of the big bulbous nose that kind of looks more like a ghoul, I guess you would say, or an ogre. And his ogre buddy has one right here too, so two more of them. Some of these things, I mean, they come in different shapes and sizes. I'm sorry, but you keep chasing after monkey men in suits, that's all that's going to happen. It's now been 55 years since the quote-unquote Patterson film. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying what did happen, they ain't going to tell you the truth of what did happen, because if they told you the truth of what they had to do in order for that thing to manifest long enough for the film, but for a couple minutes, you would have them all hung. Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Well, maybe you ought to remove the blinders from your eyes. Stop listening to everybody else. Maybe it's time to start believing in God. Because maybe God might just tell you the truth about some stuff if you let him. But it's got to be in a book. Some dude with official title's got to say the truth. Now, what's funny about this whole entity is there's a big one right here. You can see the eyeballs right here. Oh, it's pareidolia. It's pareidolia. And then there's one right here. There's eyes. And it almost looks like this one is almost a dog man, right? If you could, right? And what, chewing on this thing's head, nose, what? It's blurry. It's blurry. Well, it's because they're spirits, genius. Sorry for my tone of voice, but I keep doing this, and I get, my reward is not here. So I keep reminding myself my reward is not here. My reward is with God. My reward is my Lord Savior, my King of Kings, Jesus the Christ, because it sure the heck ain't this place. And actually, in the end of the day, I think God does that too. Is it crushes the love of this world in me, and brings more of the love of I desire for the love of Him forward, so that I may be prepared for that moment when I get to be back with Him. Because that's the only thing I can think of. Because there ain't much that I love about this world. Not just the spiritual realm, but also people in general. I mean, people in general, most people suck. In fact, most people really suck. In fact, most dudes, if given the opportunity, if given the green light, if somebody in a white coat would come up to them and say, "Hey, there's that dude. Here's a gun. Here's a button. Electrocute him. Shoot him." They'll do it. If you get a chance to beat the living snot of them, they'll do it. Because they're in truth, regardless of how shaved your head is, or how fancy or how well dressed you are with your Freemasonic suit and tie with the yoke around your neck or whatever, you are still the savage of your ancestors. And there's only one way to break free from it. And that is getting right with the spiritual realm, in particular, the Lord of all spirits. Because if you keep operating in the flesh, in the material realm, you'll keep on being what you are, which is one big giant asshole. There's no way escaping except through God. You know, there's a lot of stupid people throughout history have actually decided to worship these things. And instead of the actual creator that created these things and you, they end up worshiping these things. And you have these mass rites and rituals in which a lot of these things then become legions of unclean spirits, which then infest these people, which give them unreasonably power, men of renown of our day. You know, they call them prime ministers and presidents and billionaires and tycoons and blah, 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 blah. And in order for them, at least they're told from these spirits, as long as keep doing what we say, and there's a certain point, there's always a price, there's always a price. And then the final price is they must commit worldwide genocide or genocide of any form. And then what happens is it's bizarre. For most of them, they'll end up doing it. They've had that season when they've been on top, and then they cut you loose, and let you fall, and end up in a lake of fire, which is their whole design in the first place. And you can't blame anybody but yourself, because you had the opportunity to go after the Lord of all spirits, the Creator. Nope, you went after, like we all do, the creation. And my point in bringing this stuff out is not to glorify these things, but to remind you that they are there, that the spiritual realm is there, and that you aren't getting away with anything. And the only person you're fooling is yourself. Big shots. So we'll see where else we have. I didn't cut a lot of pictures, but I just wanted to, and I could break these down if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I don't want to waste. There's the original of this picture of the trollish, booger-like Bigfoot. Then there's one with the hook nose stuff thing. And it's fascinating. You can watch these things once you know what you're looking for. You can actually watch them manipulate the leaves. Literally, they'll do it. Especially if they know you know, they'll do it. Just try to scare you, or to let you know they're there. And a lot of times I just shake my head and go, "All right, you guys are there. All right. What else am I going to? What do you want me to do, guys? I'm not going to worship you. I'm not going to." A lot of times I go, "Wow, what you guys are doing is amazing." A lot of times it makes me sick to my stomach watching it. That one's it's more of a morphing one, but I'm not going to focus on that one. That one's a really good one. If you really want to experience the spirits manifesting, and that edge between and twilight and dusk and night, as they start manifesting around the trees. That's why they call them tree apes, for a reason, folks. That's the reason why you hear tree knocks. It's not because there are some apes wandering around banging on a tree with some giant log. They're actually popping the trees inside. And it's literally them. And you'll notice that all these tree structures, they're all dead trees. Who do you think was responsible for many of them? Steal, kill, destroy, man. I think this is one of my favorite ones I've found so far. I just like that one. There's the profile, semi-profile, this shit eating grin one with the white and the dark inset eyes. And then there's, some might even call that, might think it's a dog man or something like that. It's not. Although it could be. I mean, a lot of these things, look, could be called what you was to call a dogman. I like this one too because you got this one and you got this guy, and it's just excellent example of how they hide. It's just the one eye, part of the face, right? The head, and they block each other. They keep you from having a full view of it, and that's so that's one example in that cellar. Anyways, so this picture is just a fine example, and I showed that with them. They shared the example. I said, this is what I filmed before we filmed. I like that one right there, man. We should film that one out. It's got a tongue ticking out, actually. And that's one of the ones that would be more like the Sasquatch looking one, believe it or not. Oh, here's another one that's really good. You see this one right here? You see the eyes? This is one of those spirits that's ethereal, the spirits manifesting. Gosh dang, they're all over the place when you think about it. Of course they would be, like I said. But it never ceases to amaze me how many there are. I think what happens is that those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, they've moved further in truth and the reality of things, and those who don't and have been blinded by their egos, their diplomas, and their supposed educations, because they don't want to. Because it takes a lot of courage to be made fun of constantly, or to have people treat you like a pile of crap. Especially when you're right and they're wrong. You really know you're right and they're wrong, and you also realize that they think they're right based on their indoctrination, and there's not much you can do about it. Not a damn thing you can do about it. So here's this. Now this is the one. This is even a better example. The shit grinning spirit with the dark reset eyes and the white face. You see the two eyes? One there and right there. I've seen a better example of that. What that is. Where you see that's the eye and that's the eye. I guess maybe I should take a snapshot of that. You can see that there's the eye and there's the eye. And it's, of course, you get the branch here and the leaves and all that. And with all the irregular shapes and all that, it's very hard for people to see them. And most people will deny it. And here's the thing. This was brilliant with the think tanks and all that we have, and the alphabet's super agencies that we have, or that are always redirecting our reality through words and through words on paper, and supposedly experts. I mean, after the past 2 years, if you haven't bothered to look into how severely they deceive us in the past 2 years, and the supposed mystery bug, you haven't bothered to look into that, then there really not much anyone else can do about it. You will keep doing it anyways. You'll keep following the official narrative because you're too damn lazy. And you're spiritually dead. And if you are one of you are part of those destined in the lake of fire. It doesn't make me happy to say that. I like to see everybody over on the other side in the spiritual realm. But most people don't want anything more than what this world has to offer. They don't want anything more. They're full of anger. They're full of evil spirits through their alcohol and their drugs. And they just don't want anything to know. They don't want to know any truth. They don't want to know anything that compromises their comfortable status and position in life. Believe it or not. Oh, I bet you a lot of those other ones are on a different. I know what's get done now. I'm not going to go chasing around. I'll have to look into the folders again. And 18. There's no more 18s. That cannot be. What did you say? 18. D? 18D. 1? Is it one of those? I'll find that. I like that one. That's a nice one. It's very subtle. Very subtle, but very subtle. And if you really pay attention, let's see if I can really get it drawn out or not. Might be hard to see this. So you got this big guy here. So you got the black one right here. And you got a little guy right here. And then you got another one right here. I'm not going to tweak the pictures because I just I'm satisfied I know what I'm talking about. I'm also satisfied I'm never going to convince anybody I know what I'm talking about. You're going to have to go out and find out for yourself. I can lead you, but then again, if you're not interested in the full package, only what you want, then you're probably better off not knowing the truth anyways. You just get yourself in more trouble. And it's not worth it to get yourself in more trouble if you don't have escape route. You don't have an escape route. Yeah. And you know, it's like amazing how many times have I seen other people do the same thing in film stuff. You see it in the guys down there. Bigfoot Odyssey and Mark and all those guys down there in Florida. And they get these images, these heads popping out of the trees. It's just a head though. But it's all cloaking, right? It's for, you know, you see, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you the truth because I got nothing to lose. They're spirits. They've always known they're spirits, and we're too damn arrogant and ignorant to accept what everyone knew for thousands of years. In our age of reason, we lost our reason. In our age of scientism, we lost science. In our age of mass media, we lost our ability to communicate. Have you realized all this stuff yet? Can you recognize what I'm saying? There is nothing to be proud of. The only thing that you should be proud of this moment is what side you're on. And if you're on the side of good, real good. Not something that makes you feel good. I mean real good. I mean it's God. And God is spirit. He's not doing this. And you're not going to find him in the Roman Catholic Church or your Sunday school or your church. You're not going to find him there. You're not going to find him there, folks. You're going to find a lot of people that claim they know him until you start bringing up clearly what the Bible says. And then they get irate, angry, manipulative, controlling. And instead of having a good sit down and reading what the Bible says, that's a nice one right there. And coming to agreement with what the Bible says clearly, they put their, I think that one's funnier than hell. Isn't that, see that one? It looks like he's smoking a cigar, right? There's a big old tongue sticking out. And there's his nose and his, oh, that's funny. Light. It's that dance between the light of day and the darkness of night. When the Bible talks about, and all cultures talk about, it's not just about the moon and the sun and worshiping the quote-unquote planets that aren't even really planets. In fact, there's no such thing as a planet. But, you know, how do you convince somebody there's no such thing as a planet? You don't. They have to go find out for themselves. If you tell them that, then next thing you know, they don't want to listen to you anymore. Because that's how bad all of us are indoctrination. You know how much energy and time it's taken me to get to the point where I'm at? And I mean, an immense amount of time that God had to work on me. An immense amount of time. I'm not just talking a couple hours or a couple weekends which is what most people want, or maybe a couple $100, or even a couple $1,000. For a whole decade, God's been rearranging my brain and my whole life and my whole perspective to get me back more in line with Him. And only God could do that, because the rest of the world and myself want to go in a different direction. But you look at these images, the subtlety of the spirit realm, and you can see clearly that we got something that's not pareidolia. Pareidolia, a good example of pareidolia, what would be a good example of pareidolia? Well, go online and look up pareidolia and see how many of these images you see as pareidolia. And come back with me and show me that they're showing these images. They ain't going to do it. They're not even going to touch this shit with a 10-foot pole. They're going to have their lap dogs come after you. And come after me. And that's it. Because that's what their job is to make sure that you and I... You see, here's the thing. You have no government. They have a government. And their government is a weapon and tools used against you. You have no military. They have a military. You understand? The whole world's against you. There's one that's not against you if you let them be there in your life. But you're running to a church on Sunday will just allow you to be ensnared, give you this moment of temporary a feeling of good, of peace, right? But it's right back to, it's just all this illusion. The only thing that can give you that peace, the only one that can give you that peace, is nobody and no religion, is God Himself, the Lord of all spirits. And you hear all the time, well, I don't believe in God. Well, you know what? Tough. You know, it's you better figure out real fast whether you know there's a God or not. And if you think you can't obtain that, you didn't put much effort into it. Well, I went to Sunday school and I was going to be an altar boy. You didn't put any effort into it, dude. You were just being played. You were just being educated. You were being deceived and manipulated. And there's just, and I'm sorry, that's the way it was. I mean, it doesn't make me happy saying that. It happened to me too. It happened to every one of us. To the absolute best of us it happens to. And honestly, it's only the mercy and grace of God that you break away from any of it. Honestly, I can't see any other way. And you say, I don't believe in him. I think he's not real. I'm like, well, you're not exactly the first one to think that. You know what I mean? You're not even close to being the first one to think that. Not much thinking and originality in that one. Nope. I can't find where that ones are. What did I do with that whole... Yeah. These are other people's Bigfoot stuff. That's enough. Let's just one more time we'll go to somewhere I put these things somewhere. There's a lot more images. I know I hit them somewhere. Is it in the DC? Can they go in there? That can't be there. Can it be? I'll look in there later. So here we go one more time, just for the big grand finale. And if you choose not to say anything, if you want to say it's paradise, that's great. You keep hunting, which none of you are, especially the ones who attack me. I can count on it that 9 out of 10 of you, 90 out of 100 of you, 99 out of 100 of you ain't doing any Bigfoot research to feel, and half of you are being paid to drive me away and other people like me away, so no one ever has an honest discussion in its totality the spirit realm and its implications, and why we are dealing with the spirit realm, and why we're not being allowed to talk about it. And here's the thing as well. It's automatically always knows you did something wrong. What did you do to invite? You ever notice that? Many times they are right. Many times they're wrong. Don't tell me that God, listen, God's most righteous of servants had interaction with angels, removed demons, saw these things around them, by the way, with their eyes, could recognize who was demon infested and who wasn't, not simply by their behavior, but what was in them and around them. See, your eyes will be open. But most of you are still walking after 40, 50, 60 years with your beer bellies and your bad attitudes, with a bunch of hot air coming out of both ends, thinking that you're smarter and better than God himself. And as long as you got a few buddies that think that you're somebody, or give you the illusion that you're somebody, but I hope you understand you're nobody without God. Got you a chance that you already are one of these people that's already having these things infested in you. And as long as you think that you have a good beat on life, and that everything's good, so God must be blessing you, and you have this great love of this world, and we should put 99% of your whole energy into this world. And if you're lucky, if you have the time once a week, putting that much into God, you think you're going to heaven because you say you believe in God? You know, they call them parishes for a reason. What parish do you belong to? What parish do you belong to? Anyway, so this is what I filmed that night, an hour before the show, the interview, and it's not like I went out of my way. I just took a couple pictures on my kitchen window, and they're always there, and they've always been there, and they always will be there. And I can tell you this: if you have trees, and water, and anything, grass, humidity, and all that, guess what? They're looking into your windows too. In fact, my kitchen window, I don't even have blinds. I haven't even blinds in there. After I dealt with everything in 2017 and 18, and finally, slowly, it was settling down. One of the things I did, I said, I'm not going to be afraid of these things. If they're going to look at me, they're going to look at me. It's not like having a curtain blind is going to keep them from looking at me. So why waste my time? I just call upon the name of the Lord and protect me. And then to say once again, dear Lord Jesus, Lord God Almighty, the Lord of all spirits, and have mercy on me and anybody who hears this. Honestly, God. And protect us and cover us, and not with your precious blood, but with you. You're, like you said you were going to do for your people. Like a hen with her its chicks. And cover me with your righteous wings of truth, mercy. All that is you, and beyond anything we can understand. And God bless anybody that hears this. Those are the hit. Totally disagree with everything I just said. Bless them 100 times more than you bless me. Bless everybody 1,000,000 times more than me. Bless my son 1,000,000 times more than me. Bless people and their children 1,000,000 times more than me. All praise and glory to you, God. Thank you.